white boy humor because that's important to me. No, I'm kidding. You guys are probably wondering, like, what the fuck is white boy humor? And honestly, like, I don't really know if this is a genre that a lot of people like relate to in terms of comedy, but I'm starting to notice that there's this subgenre called white boy humor, which I have named, that has kind of come to life here. And it's really headed by a couple guys that I think are very, very good by the names of Jimmy Tatro and Trevor Wallace. You've probably seen them on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you like look at your weird memes. Like they have created they're probably I'd say in like the last 6 years responsible for like 65-70% of Instagram memes and their various like catchphrases and YouTube videos that get cut into memes and whatnot. Um, but let's make something very clear to my Jimmy Tatro and Trevor Wallace fans. I'm looking at all of you right now into the camera right now. Jimmy Tatro is the dad of Trevor Wallace in this business. I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are, white boys, white girls, brown boys, whatever race you are. Jimmy Tatro birthed white boy humor, and there's no questioning that. People like to give Trevor Wallace a lot of credit, and he does deserve a lot of credit for kind of being a part of this white boy humor. But Jimmy Tatro and Christian Pierce were the first people to really create this kind of frat humor subculture that we see right now. They really birthed this whole genre, and it's funny because Christian Pierce isn't even white, um, so that's kind of cool. But it is like when you like I don't even know if Tatro and Wallace are bitter rivals. I don't even think so. I think they've worked together on like multiple videos and stuff, and they seem cool in life. But it's kind of cool to like put them kind of against each other for this comparative exercise to like look at them in terms of like their comedic accomplishments and like what they've done because they are of similar age. They do a lot of similar stuff. They have a very similar style. Um, because they are very similar in terms of like what they've done in terms of how they got to where they got to, but they're also extremely different in a lot of ways. Well, so that's very interesting. I think when it comes to Jimmy Tatro, he definitely has taken, and I'd say this like later in his career, I think he's gone from kind of that. I think both of them started in sketch comedy. I think you can look at Trevor Wallace, his YouTube channel, and then Life According to Jimmy, which is also Jimmy Tatro's YouTube channel. Go check both of those out, by the way, if you haven't heard of either. They're both very freaking good. But I think Jimmy Tatro kind of went from the sketch comedy sort of, creating on YouTube type thing to getting right into acting, which is what a lot of YouTubers like to do, particularly comedic YouTubers. And so that's where he got into like he got roles in 22 Jump Street and American Vandal, where like I believe he might have been like Emmy recognized, if not like Emmy shortlisted for that performance. And like he kind of like went in that acting direction, which is something that a lot of YouTubers do tend to do, particularly in his space. But Trevor Wallace kind of took his sketch comedy fame and following and kind of took that in a different avenue and sort of went down the stand-up path. He's actually on a stand-up tour right now, which is kind of cool. So they both kind of taken their careers in two different directions, but sort of birthed this foundation of white boy humor because you see a lot of these TikTokers, like there's this guy Justin who pretends to be a frat boy, like Nick. There's like this guy Nick something, and then there's like I forget their names, but there's so many of these like frat boy TikTokers that are kind of trying to be this next Trevor Wallace, Jimmy Tatro sort of thing. And they have big followings on the app, but the reality is like none of this would have even been possible if you didn't have like Trevor Wallace and Jimmy Tatro like filming these things on like iPhone 5s back in 2014. Like that's how they really started, which I think is super cool. And the weird frat subgenre definitely has like a significant amount of popularity within comedy today. And I think that's really interesting. But I would say like let's compare, like let's take it back to like Jimmy Tatro and Trevor Wallace for a second. I think if you compare the both of them, just like let's take a look at humor style for a second. I think Trevor Wallace is definitely more dirty. I think when it comes to like actual like graphic humor, like Trevor Wallace is not for the faint of heart. I would say when it comes to like the way that he has humor, like particularly in a I cannot talk politically correct society. Like Trevor Wallace is not the one guy you're gonna go to and be like, oh my god, I'm gonna show like my super woke like social justice supporting girlfriend, like this. Like it's not, that's not the first thing you think of. Tatro's he doesn't really have dirty humor. It's more clean. I'd say Jimmy Tatro is more accessible to a lot of audiences. I'd say Trevor Wallace has definitely like honed himself into kind of this college age sort of white fraternity boy, majority men audience. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of women that love Trevor Wallace. I think he's really funny. I think he's actually applicable to both genders. But I would say like Trevor Wallace definitely has a little bit dirtier humor, and Jimmy Tatro is more kind of family friendly in that regard. And then, I mean, dude, Life According to Jimmy and Trevor Wallace's YouTube channel are both classic YouTube channels. They have both of them have incredible videos, which are just the most hilarious things I've ever seen. And I think like anybody would like those videos. It's not just me. It's not just, guys. I think guys and girls and whoever you are, like you would absolutely love those videos. But I'd say like Jimmy Tatro like really built his fame through having those iconic moments on YouTube, right? Trevor Wallace built his fame through kind of these like weird. So like Jimmy Tatro had like Life According to Jimmy, and he had a couple skits that obviously like kind of went up, and then he became more of a recognizable face within Hollywood because he got acting roles and all this stuff. But Trevor Wallace is someone who kind of didn't have those iconic moments, but he started getting recognized in like Instagram memes, and then there was like a couple videos that just popped off, and he had a couple catchphrases which just went viral all over the internet, right? You have like the Zoomies video, which like that was where I first saw Trevor Wallace, and like I thought he was so funny. And then like after the Zoomies video, like you had the White Claw stuff, and then ain't no laws when you're drinking claws, like the classic line, IPA time to slay, right? Like shit like that. That was all Trevor Wallace, and those lines became sort of synonymous with him, which is what led him to kind of reach that level of status that he's at today. But now both of them, you can consider both of them to be like very elite working kind of comedians slash actors in their various industry. And they're both widely included, I'd say, in the world of Hollywood. And it's going to be interesting to see like where they take their careers because they're getting old. They're, 28, 29, 30. And they're not, at this point, they're going to be like like 8 to 10 years removed from college at a certain point. So that whole college fraternity boy act is going to have to sort of subside at some point because it's going to be weird if a 35-year-old's making fraternity boy jokes. It's not, it's not going to hit the same. And so though they're going to have to stop relying on that crutch of white boy humor and try to find something else. Like I feel like they're going to have to grow up. And I feel like comparatively, if you can, again, we're pitting both of them for the sake of this exercise. I don't necessarily know if they're anti each other in real life. I don't think they are at all. Trevor Wallace hasn't necessarily shown that maturity yet of being able to like kind of expand from beyond that sort of college level humor to more of a mature humor. But I'd say Jimmy Tatro has taken active steps to kind of, ingrain himself within Hollywood, but not only ingrain himself within Hollywood, but also sort of become more of a mature working actor that can, be funny in other shows. Like he's in, I'll give you an example. Like Jimmy Tatro is in like ABC shows now. He's in this ABC show called Home Economics, which is super, it's interesting. I wouldn't consider it to be like Jimmy Tatro's funniest work. It's not what he's necessarily known for. He gets to play kind of like this immature adult, which is like very his role. And I feel like he's going to get typecast into a lot of those roles. But he is like very it's showing a new side of Jimmy, which is really cool. Like, and I really do enjoy seeing him in that new light because I think I'm going to see more of Jimmy Tatro like that. Like, it's not going to be the classic, college party, trying to sneak into a frat house type YouTube video, but more so like mature acting within maybe network shows or movies or whatever that may be. So that's going to be interesting. But I think Trevor Wallace is taking steps to maturity. I'm not trying to call Trevor Wallace an immature guy. I think Trevor Wallace is maturing in his own way. I mean, he's on a stand-up tour. Like, he's still having tremendous success. Like, they both have had a lot of success due to this genre of white boy humor. And I mean, I would like to see Trevor Wallace live. Like, I'm not even going to cap. Like, if I got the opportunity to see Trevor Wallace live, like, I'd probably go. So we'll see. But both of them are great. Like, I want to keep emphasizing that. Like, I'm not trying to criticize Trevor Wallace or Jimmy Tatro. I'm just pointing out the fact that they are going to have to mature. Like, I don't think you can stay with this whole white boy humor act for 20, 30 years. I mean, they're funny as hell. Don't get me wrong. And they could probably still pull in 16, 17 million views, but like Trevor Wallace can't do churdleys until he's 55. So like my thing is like my interest is like, okay, so you've built yourself on this kind of reputation of being able to do all these funny skits, but what's the next level? And Trevor Wallace is, and I'd say Jimmy Tatro has kind of showed signs of it, and Trevor Wallace is, maybe starting to get there, but it's going to be interesting to see like where they go kind of from this sort of college level humor, because they can't do it forever. And but I just want to say one thing about both these guys that I really admire from both of them as a fellow content creator. Look, I'm not supposed to be a comedian. I don't come on here and make frat boy jokes and, have fun. I'm not good enough to do that. They're super talented. Both of them are extremely funny in their own regard. They both started comedy careers from literally nothing. They started comedy careers from like GoPro, like flip camera, iPhone 4, 5, like type technology. They had nothing. They were broke college kids that hustled their asses off, made videos off very low definition things, but also told a story and had fun with their skits. Both of them in their own respective manner. I mean, Life According to Jimmy was one of the first YouTube channels, like comedic YouTube channels, besides maybe College Humor or that type of thing, to like really blow up and like make a name for itself. And I mean, today it's at like 4 million subscribers. I don't know what it was back then. Like, I think he reached 1 million back in 2014 or something like that. But he stopped regularly posting after a while to, focus on his other stuff, which is fair. But they really started from nothing. They just made kind of regular, like Jimmy Tatro was filming videos at the University of Arizona, and Trevor Wallace is from around here. He went to college around here, San Jose State. And they both, started from nothing. And it's like that. It's kind of like that band aesthetic that I talked about, right? Where it's like with garage bands where you start in the garage. Like they started in the college frat house and just kind of worked their way up to becoming like Hollywood regulars at this point. Like Trevor Wallace goes on the Impulsive podcast, right? Like things like that, which like they probably would have never thought were possible. And they literally built these careers up from absolutely nothing. And I think that's super cool. They have that hustler mentality, and I fuck with that. And I'm a big fan of like that type of humor. Like I love their content, and I think it just helps that I really love both their stories. I think they came from pretty much, just with limited resources, built themselves into like elite Hollywood names via social media and all the various things that they've done. So shout out to the both of them, because I think they're doing incredible and awesome work, and they deserve to be recognized for it. But also like going to be interesting to see kind of how that whole sort of genre develops in the coming years, and especially as the kind of founders of it, so to speak, are getting older and older.